Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. As the whole world went to celebrate Easter holidays and Easter Ramadan, Kenya finds itself during these holy times in a political turmoil. There is an air of uncertainty because of what is happening in the country. Raila is piling pressure on William Samoei Ruto to show Kenyans and the whole world that he won the elections, and is telling him a very simple thing to do: just open the server. And is telling William Samoei Ruto to ensure that he brings the cost of living down, and he's got an answer to that. He is telling him, just reinstate the subsidies that you removed courtesy of the pressure that IMF gave you. William Ruto and the government has maintained a solid rock stand that they won't listen to Raila, because Raila, like they said yesterday, is a normal civilian citizen and they have nothing to discuss with them. Raila says they don't recognize the legitimacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta or William Ruto, but William Ruto says you must accept the legitimacy of our government if we have to engage you. So this drama has divided the country in the middle. This started during the campaigns when William Ruto separated a chunk of votes and remained with, and Raila Odinga remained with another chunk. Even during the voting, you saw the voting block and the pattern. Raila controls millions of votes. William Ruto controls millions. Now, to add into this saga are several right groups who have taken a stand. Some are with Raila Odinga, others are with William Samoei Ruto. Even the clergy is divided. We now have those who are called the M-Pesa bishops. They have been pocketed by William Samoei Ruto. They are muted and their mouths are zipped. They cannot talk of any illegality and ills in our society. They watch corruption take place, but they can't talk. When there is police brutality in the country, they can't talk. Even when the government is committing blatant breach of law, they cannot talk. But there are those people who have stood and they are counted and they speak against it. The other day you saw the ex-KDF soldiers came and said that what Raila Odinga is talking about, it goes beyond politics, and so they don't trust the talks in parliament. They indicated that William Ruto controls this parliament, having bought several members of Azimio fraternity. So it tells you just how enormous the situation is, and very precarious. We don't know what to do. So as we went for our holidays, one of my favorite bishops, the bishop of the Archdiocese of Nyeri, Mr. Anthony Muheria, decided to do a letter. This letter was done on Sunday and it is in the Standard. You can go and check it. It's a long letter, but I want us to read just 3 paragraphs, because this letter is sending chills down the spine of the occupants of Statehouse. It has indicted the government. It has indicted the hustlers who have continued to bury their heads in the sand, because they don't want to open their eyes and see what is happening. I'm only going to let us read together just 3 paragraphs, because this is going to form the gist and the basis of what we want to talk about. I'm going to paragraph 5 because the letter is titled, "Who will roll the stone for us to overcome political darkness?" Because for lack of a better term, that is where we are. We are in political darkness and we need light. And Bishop Anthony Muheria was likening this to a period when Jesus was buried, and then the women went the following morning on Sunday. Then they found out that the stone had been rolled and Jesus was not there. But the good thing was that the stone had been rolled out. So that is what he's saying, that we are in the same situation. Who will roll the stone for us during this political darkness? And he's likening what happened there to the Kenyan situation, and is looking at what happened, the events before Jesus Christ was crucified. So let us go straight to what he's writing in paragraph 5. He's saying that all these events, all this is cast in the backdrop of the corrupt leadership of Herod and Caesar, the astute and manipulative actions of the high priests, and the slippery tongues of the experts of law. but they all played to the gullible crowd. They agitated the people to ask for Jesus' death and release of Barnabas, a thief and a murderer, instead of Jesus. The crowd are worked up to shout or do anything. They even enjoy the silly game. What did they get in return? We in Kenya seem to be in a similar dilemma. Who will roll the stone for us? Who will set us up as Kenyans to doing good and not always seeking ill? Who will allow us to show love and mercy? This paragraph now, I want you to listen to this, even more deeper. Who will truly have the plight of Kenyans in his goal above his or her own personal interest? Who will roll the stone of dishonesty and corruption, the stone of nepotism and cronyism, the stone of hatred and revenge? Then I'm going to the last paragraph that I want us to do, paragraph 7. Paragraph 7 says, it begins with we have also, and it says, we have also surrendered our places of worship to them, to politic. We had said we keep our places of worship sacred, no politics, but we have been overrun. They take our pulpits at will. We, the religious leaders, have lost our tongue, have lost our authority, and maybe betrayed our Lord for personal gains. Easter must come. That is the letter. It's a long letter. I have pinned it there. You can read or you can go and look for it. Now, Bishop Muheria is saying that the event that took place before Jesus was crucified is that the Pharisees were pronouncing themselves in a manner that can only be likened to the Kenyan situation, because it says that when Jesus was apprehended, betrayed, and killed, it happened against the backdrop of the corrupt leadership of Herod and Caesar. Let us speak the truth, like I always say. The situation that the Pharisees were then is like this one. This corrupt leadership of William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, like it was then during Herod and Caesar, it is now during the William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. And he says that the Pharisees, the teachers of law, hoodwinked people, just like our M-Pesa bishops today, keep on hoodwinking Kenyan today. Because, he says something that the astute and manipulative actions of the high priest and the slippery tongue of the teachers of law, they keep on manipulating Kenyans. It's the same situations. But then he skips this and says, now who will roll the stone for us? Because if you can see what is happening now, the person who is supposed to help us, Raila Amolo Odinga, because this is my own interpretation, you can do it your way, but this is my own interpretation, that when Raila Amolo Odinga is now asking the government to lower down the cost of living, to tell us who won the elections, to ensure that they appoint people into public offices, they should not concentrate on only two tribes, the Kikuyus and the Kalenjins. They should ensure that all Kenyans get a fair share of the national cake, because all of us pay taxes. But they play to the gullible Kenyans, just like those played with the gullible crowd. And they were asked, do you want Jesus to be crucified or Barnabas? They said, release Barnabas and crucify Jesus. Today, if you ask many of the Kenya Kwanza supporters, they have demonized Raila Amolo Odinga. In fact, yesterday, after the salaries of civil servants delayed, instead of coming out and accepting and admitting that things are bad, Rigathi Gachagua, our deputy president, kept on blaming Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga. They have not come up to own up that things are bad. Yet, on the same breath, we have seen a corrupt case where those who are within the Kenya Kwanza, in fact, chairman of the KRA, who are at the center of this government are caught up in chains of corruption in that state-of-the-art stadium where several billions of shillings were lost. They're not speaking about it because they have been cornered. People like Muheria, people like Moses Kuria, they have been caught up because they mismanaged and they stole public funds. Yet what they are doing is telling us that they blame Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila for the mess that is happening. Bishop is also saying that we have surrendered our places of worship to the politicians. This is the saddest part, if you ask me. I'm one person who believes that we are where we are because God has allowed us to be. We can play with anything, but not with our pulpits. Pulpits, whether in the church, whether in the mosque, are the most sacred places that we should never play politics. Whether politicians from Kenya Kwanza, whether politicians from Azimio government, we cannot allow ourselves to the extent of now crossing the red line, and we want to go and play our politics in church. The interdenominational prayers, every Sunday, the Thanksgiving prayers. So when we get there, we start demonizing opposition and we start speaking ill. Those are the places where we even issue alerts that we are going to capture people's land, and we make good our threats. So Bishop is saying that they have lost their voice and they have lost their authority. He says there's something that is very sad, that they had cautioned that pulpits be left for the worship of God, but they say we have been overrun. We have been overrun because M-Pesa bishops have been bought, they have been compromised, they cannot talk about anything. This is why even when there is a lot of corruption, when there is wrangles and drama between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, they cannot come as a neutral arbiter because they have taken sides, they have been bought, and this is very sad. We want to return back to the period when people like Ndigi Mwanda and Zeki and Bishop Njoya could stand up and tell the government, you are wrong. But it is sad that our bishops, the church, the mosque, the sacred, the holiest of places, they have been captured, and now we have a state capture worse than the one that they used to talk about in the Uhuru government. So ladies and gentlemen, just check that later, but it's really painful even to the government. And the Hustler Nation is being cautioned to stop burying their heads in the sand because they are being cheated, just like the crowd was cheated and they crucified Jesus instead of Barnabas.